in an enterprise environment, you're going to want to have a lot of control over phones that are connecting to your network. You want to do that to prevent each of those little phones from becoming a possible point of entry into your network. So let's take a look at mobile device management. MDM is basically a software solution, and it's typically in the cloud, although it doesn't have to be. You can control phones either through wired distribution or over the air, and you can distribute applications, configurations, data. You can implement enterprise policy to reduce security risks, to reduce the risk of business discontinuity, and also to keep costs down. You can use it to deploy and manage software apps and manage company and employee-owned devices. Most products can work with most mobile platforms. Now, there are plenty of MDM solutions meant for companies, but you can also have your own little MDM solutions for your phone, your iPhone, your Android, because iCloud supports it, Google supports it. So like Find My Device, wipe it remotely, backup. These are simple mechanisms for mobile device management. In an enterprise, we can be much more hardcore, where we can turn on and off features. We can disallow jailbroken and rooted devices. We can disallow any connectivity to our network until you satisfy certain requirements. So there's a lot more control there. And here are just a number of MDM solutions. There's more. There's Cisco Meraki. There's so many. So here are just a few here for MDM solutions. Here's an example of an MDM. We can zoom in. We can see that we have a network summary, and we can see where the access points are, where the clients are, where our rogue access points have been detected. We can see geographically where stuff is. We can see what the top clients are by usage, the top operating systems. We can push policy. We can push applications. We can get rid of applications. We can push updates and security settings. You could also just have sort of like a spyware tracker home version of this. These are basically this is a sort of MDM, but it's more like a phone nanny here. So there are a bunch of these that you can use. They're not really for enterprise use so much as I can track what people are doing, like track what my kids are doing, or in a small business environment maybe. I can see where they are, where they've been moving around. I can see who they've been calling and what they've been doing and what they've been opening. And so there are a bunch of spyware trackers for mobile devices here. The concept of bring your own device, BYOD, you've probably heard that already. It's a philosophy, so to speak, that allows employees to use personal devices for work. And you can formalize it with a policy. So we let employees use the device that works best for them and works best for their personal preferences. They're more productive because they're comfortable. It's more flexible. You'll have much more employee satisfaction, and it reduces costs in the fact that you don't have to buy them anything. However, there are some downsides. Now, the benefits, of course, the better productivity, increased flexibility, employee satisfaction, reduced costs, but the risks, especially the leakage of confidential data, and the risk of sharing confidential data on an unsecured network. The problem of there will be a mismatch in endpoint security, or maybe none. And how are you going to deal with stolen or lost devices? And how are you going to dispose of devices if they have sensitive company data and people are in control of how they dispose of it? They could just give it away with that sensitive data, or they could sell it. Plus, your IT department is going to go crazy because they have to support lots of different device types. And there's a high risk that they're going to be combining private and personal data together. And there will be lots of inadequate awareness and the potential to bypass network policy rules. And there will be problems with the infrastructure. If you're not on top of all of this, you can have disgruntled employees, or you could have disgruntled employees that are not unhappy with the mobile device policy, but they're going to use their mobile phone as an entry point to damage your network. So these are the downsides that you have to weigh. Most companies do not require a lot of control over BYOD phones, although there are some that'll say you cannot bring BYOD here and connect without submitting to MDM and endpoint and policy, at least while you're connected. It's totally up to you. If you're going to implement BYOD, you have to be very clear about requirements. You'll have to build a technology portfolio for all the devices. So that's why some companies say, okay, it could be BYOD, but only from a certain selection. And they'll even do what's called choose your own device or select your own device. We'll buy it for you, but you can only buy one of these 3 or 5 types. You need a BYOD policy. You need to ensure that there's security and ongoing support. For your administrator, here are your security guidelines. You need to use multiple layers of protection. You need to be clear on who owns an app and who owns data. You need to clarify which apps are permitted and which ones are banned. Do not let anyone BYOD a rooted or jailbroken device. Make sure people are educated in this. Ensure that any data transfer that happens is going to be over an encrypted channel. And ensure that any access that people have is based on actual need. And any access gateways should have timeouts and session authentication policies in place. For employees with BYOD, you need to make sure that data is stored with encryption mechanisms, that you have a full separation of personal and business data, and usually that's an app that does that. And the app will store the business data in a secure location, and you have to tap something to get into the business side. If it's permitted by company policy, register the device with remote locate or remote wipe. Just realize that your daughter on a Sunday morning, you're sleeping in and your daughter wants to play Angry Birds on your phone. And she can't figure out how to log in, and she has exceeded the threshold of bad logins. And your MDM will remote wipe and brick your phone. That has happened. So just realize. Ensure that device is always up to date with patches in OS, and by the way, an MDM should do that for you. And your company is probably going to deploy some kind of data loss protection and antivirus. You need to play along with that. So that's mobile device management.